by having more people at the table and more people who are different.
Forward Collective, for women in diversity.
People from all walks of life.
Focused progress.
It's good business.
There's value in the knowledge that comes from someone different from you. It's not only valuable, but it's beautiful too.
Content and community featuring underrepresented individuals for the experts that we are, rather than the boxes that we check.
The optimal way to make a better environment.
Hey everyone, Michael Donnelly, founder of Forward Collective, here with the amazing Nikki Lynette, aka Lynette the Threat, aka producer, playwright, artist, musical composer, film director, social media influencer, you name it. And she is here letting us come into her home, getting cozy with us. I told her right before that the background is just I'm loving it, and the blanket pulling out the colors. So hey Nikki, what's up?
Girl, I'm tired. But good. Happy to see spring emerging. It's always nice. Spring in Chicago is always awesome because it means we're on our way to summertime shy.
I will second that notion. There's nothing like it. So you just got back from LA. That I know you were just on a trip. Is that where you just were?
Yeah, I called it my eat, pray, hike journey because after I finished my film, I wasn't okay. I'm still not okay. I'm getting there. But you relive your trauma for 6 months while finishing a film about your mental wellness journey. And anybody would come out of that a little rattled. And then, yesterday, like this is the month when I lost a lot of people. Yesterday was the last day in which I lost somebody important to me. And so, it's a tough month for me anyway.
Yeah.
So I just was like, okay, I need to just go and be gone. And so I went to LA. I ate a whole lot of carbs and vegan donuts, and I hiked, and I went to the beach and got sand in my sneakers, and it was a good experience. I stayed until I felt like I was sick of it and wanted to come home.
Yeah.
So, and then I came home, my cat was like cussing me out. I didn't realize that I spoiled my cat. Like I thought I was just like a mid-level cat owner. Like there are far bougier cats than mine. I did not know I actually spoiled him rotten until I came home, and I walked through the door and he's like, meow, meow, meow. Like he's like yelling at me, like not meowing, not trying to cuddle. His reaction was like anger. I don't know if I've ever really.
Where have you been?
Yes, very much that energy. Yeah, he's staring at me. You know I'm talking about him.
They always do. So I want to go back to something you just shared before we dive into Get Out Alive and a little bit of recap around it. But for everybody who's listening, Nikki just released last month a musical about depression called Get Out Alive, which is absolutely incredible. It's available online. You can buy tickets and watch it. It's a 5-part series, 4 parts with an intermission. And you mentioned something that really actually resonates with me a lot too, and I'm sure it resonates with a lot of creatives. And I fall into the spectrum of like creative and business in the sense that what we do for Forward, every time I put on an event, I am like depleted after. And I jokingly called it like a creative postpartum, because you have this thing that you're so focused on for so long. It's literally your North Star, the thing that you're running towards. It's in every single one of your thoughts. It's in your dreams. It's waking you up at night. It's you eat, breathe, sleep, awake, all the things about it. And then all of a sudden it's done. And it's like, now what? And I think there's just this reality of, I never heard of anybody talk about that really until like I did some events, and it was like, why do I feel so weird after this? And I think that's like something that a lot of creatives are starting to like come out sharing their journeys on that piece of the creative process, like the release.
I call it postpartum as well, honestly. That's kind of what it is. You birth this thing, and now it's here, and now the process of birthing it is over, and it has encompassed your entire life. And I always get it. I actually got that word from Keisha. because I
Oh yeah.
always get it. Yeah, I always get it after a major project. This one was a little different though, because just the extent to which I had to relive my trauma to create this project.
Yeah.
And I had to learn new skills. I learned Premiere so I could edit it. I learned how to animate. I learned how to design sets. I learned like so many things. Oh my God. It
Yes,
was
yes.
so
People think of the
much.
glamour. It's like, no, no, no. I'm literally like rolling up my sleeves on the computer, like going into it, trying to figure it all out.
It was not a glamorous experience, like at all in any way. And I'm about to do a couple more film projects, which is very cool. I will never do it this way ever again in my life. I will never ever do this to myself again. And maybe it's just like a valuable lesson that I had to learn
Mhm.
about self-compassion, about being kind with myself. Like maybe it's just a lesson I had to learn. And that's fine. But
And I
I will
think
never need to learn it twice.
you'll value the people you work with in different ways based on the fact that you've now been through it. So I think like when we hire people to do video editing or to do different elements of the creative process for us, it's nice. It's almost like when you work up the corporate ladder, how you have to like start at the lower positions and kind of figure them all out so that you can properly manage it and feel like you have the control of the outcome.
Yeah, it was a lot, and I will never have to learn that lesson again.
So
So,
tell us a little bit about Get Out Alive and the journey to creating it. I know it first started as a play at Steppenwolf and transitioned into this more video film type of performance. And I mean, you've been a musician for a long time. You've been a mental health advocate for a long time. You're constantly sharing your journey and your struggles, which I think is a beautiful thing for the rest of us who get to benefit from that, but I'm sure is very complicated and complex for you. So, what was the kind of motivation behind making this masterpiece?
um, you see this very spoiled
He's
baby
so
here, but
cuddly. He's like, "Wait, you're
this is
paying
like
attention to someone else."
he was not this cuddly before I went to California, I assure you. Okay. Um, so Get Out Alive, like people really didn't really pay attention to it until it was at Steppenwolf in
Mhm.
2020. That actually was in 2020. People think it was longer ago than it was because of the panty, but it was
Yeah.
actually in February of 2020, right before
Oh my god,
everything
that's
started.
nuts.
But it actually started. The concept for it started. Um, I think it was 2018
Mhm.
when I opened for Pussy Riot, and I performed my concept for it on stage when I opened for
Mhm.
them at their first American tour. And so, like, I had never written a musical. I had never written a play, and I had been told, to write one, like by my mentor at the time. And I don't think he knew what that I would create something like this. He wanted to just get me creating, so I hadn't
Yeah.
been
You're just trying
creating,
to
and I
push
was
your buttons and see which one you responded to. Like, "Do this. No, do this. No, do this. Well, focus on this. I think you'll be good at it."
yeah, because I was recovering from being suicidal. So I think he was just trying to give me something to want to live for. I didn't
Mhm.
have much.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have Sable yet. So I didn't have anything to live for. And so this is by far going to be the most hilarious video clip.
I
Me
know.
holding this
I
cat
just
like a
love the little
baby.
paw, like, "Pay attention. I keep focus right here."
So I did my concept when I opened for Pussy Riot, and it went really well. It went
That's
really well. It
awesome.
went over really well. And so I felt confident that I could do it, and I finished the play. And then it got picked up by American Music Theater Project. I did a workshop at Northwestern in their Black Box Theater. That was when I became the first Black woman to ever be produced by American Music Theater Project. And then um, the next thing that happened was we debuted it in the workshop. We debuted Play at Steppenwolf.
Mhm.
And then that was kind of like when people started paying attention to it because Steppenwolf, it's a internationally recognized theater. And I still to this day feel a little shocked about the fact that it happened.
Yeah.
So
And you did
It
it
was like
live for a little while before transitioning to the virtual version and the film production it is now, yes? How long did it run at Steppenwolf?
I only had like I was in the Lookout series, so we just literally did the debut there. We only did it was only supposed to be 4 performances of it. Before, then you go to like a major theater,
Mhm.
another theater for an extended run. Like if you do good, you know what I'm saying? If you
Yeah.
don't do good, then you
If you
don't.
then you get picked up, yeah.
Yeah. And so mine got picked up. And it was like, you know what I'm saying? But th- then the panty happened and there was no more extended run. So, there was a little sadness at first. And then I got the opportunity to adapt it to film. And that has been my life ever since.
Mhm. And I think part of understanding just in general your career path, like how did you get to becoming a musical artist, deciding that this was your direction and making it into your work as well as something that fuels you? um yeah, tell me a little bit about how that came to be.
I like my childhood was a lot. It
Hmm.
wasn't fun. It wasn't free. And I was always a smart kid. Like I always
Hmm.
had the grades. I was always in the honors classes. I had the talented 10th experience. Even as I was moved from school to school, due to some of the drama that was happening in my family life, I was always smart.
Hmm.
And so I remember when I graduated high school, and I had the opportunity to either go academic or go artistic. And my family, of course, wanted me to go academic. But the way that I saw it is no matter what I do in life, I have to work hard at it anyway to be successful.
Hmm.
So if I have to work hard, no matter what, then I might as well do something that I love that will make me happy.
Hell
And
yeah.
so, there are definitely times when I feel like, damn, like, I have the intellect, I have the intellectual capacity and the curiosity. I could have been anything, in the world of academia. I'm really, really interested in science. I love science. I would have become like the world's illest marine biologist. You know what I'm saying? But I've never had a day job. I've always ever been a creative,
Hmm.
always my entire adult life. So, and I'm a multi hyphenate autodidact, which means I have taught myself how to do multiple things.
Hmm.
So when it comes to filmmaking, I taught myself singing, I taught myself production, I taught myself rapping, I taught myself visual art, like what you see behind you, painting, drawing, sculpting, all of these things are things I taught myself, not because I think I'm so great, but because I grew up poor. I grew up with lack of access. And so if I
Yeah.
wanted to learn how to do things, I had to teach myself. I would say the only thing I didn't teach myself was like theater because I had Roger and Brandon, my director and my creative producer, that taught me. So
Hmm.
I actually learned about theater as I was doing it. I had never did no musical.
Was that a cool
So
experience, like, kind of leaning outside yourself for this project and having some people that could show you different areas of the trade? Well, I'm sure you were teaching yourself along the way, but this seems like it was like a unique opportunity in that sense.
it was nice to have guidance. It
Mhm.
was nice to know that I was being led in the right direction. It's nice to have leadership that you can trust.
Yeah,
It's
I think
nice to
that's
be able to follow somebody else's leadership. I do not need to be the boss all the damn time. And for my film, like I had to call a lot of the final shots. I definitely had to do a lot of the decision making. But the beauty of leadership is that it is an active service.
Mhm.
So even though it's my project, I'm in charge, I'm at the helm of it. If I do not have the ability to follow up the leadership of the people that are on my team, then what am I even doing? That's stupid. Like I don't really want to be a boss. I want to be a leader because leaders listen. Leaders know when to step back and let somebody else lead. Leaders know how to delegate. I don't want to be nobody boss. Like I would like to work with grown people who are good at what they do and I can trust them to do what they do. I ain't nobody boss. I don't like that.
I think that's a really cool kind of differentiator between boss and leader that we all, well, I don't want to generalize, but like it's easy to get caught up in that, right? And like the path to success and the path to understanding what it truly means to lead people versus what it means to be in charge of people.
Right.
So, as someone who actively has some engages with mental health, and then finding the motivation to teach yourself, finding the motivation to be creative, I know that's a solution to kind of move past some different things, or move through, I guess, rather than past some mental health struggles. But how do you motivate yourself to learn these things, to teach these things, or teach yourself these things when you're feeling, when you're having mental
Um,
health struggles?
sis. Ooh, sis, that's a good question. Ooh, girl, that's a good question. Uh, my best friend Keisha helps a lot
Mhm.
to keep me
Keisha
centered.
Howard, Sugar Gamers, will give her a proper shout out because that's how we met.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't be wanting to do none of this shit. Like, if I could just be a hot girl with big titties who was talented, like if I could just be talented and hot with big titties and really long hair and big thighs, like I would just embrace that life. I'd totally do it because um it seems like a very carefree life, but I can't do it. Um I have complex post traumatic stress disorder, which means I have more than one thing that caused trauma. I have high functioning complex post traumatic stress
Let's get
disorder.
technical.
Exactly. So it's, I have more than one thing that gives me flashbacks. I have more than one thing that can create triggers for me,
Mhm.
service triggers for me. Um, I have sleep disturbances. If I eat too much sugar, it impacts my mental wellness. I have anxiety. Like, these are things where if I do not stay present and stay tuned into my inner world, then I'm not okay.
Mhm.
And when I'm not okay, I have to take care of me. Like, that's part of the reason. One of my points of trauma is that a lot of the people that I had loved the most have all died. They're not here.
Mhm.
So I live alone and I don't have like some very core relationships in my life. So if I'm not okay, I fall on my two siblings and my friends, like for them to have to, take care of me, and I can't have that. So
Mhm.
I have to take care of myself and my wellness. I don't have the option of checking out. I don't have the option of being irresponsible as it pertains to my wellness. So, and I'm choosing to do this without meds.
Mhm.
Um, Now that's hard too, because when I was on meds, I had, significantly less anxiety, but I was on meds when I tried to kill myself.
Mhm.
Because meds for me, I've never drank or smoked in my entire life. I don't think my body knows what to do with things that are that
Chemical.
alter me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
alteration. Alter your state
So
of mind.
yeah, like so it made me I couldn't feel anything. So I couldn't feel anxiety and I couldn't feel panic and I couldn't feel the pain, but I also couldn't feel ambition or joy or happiness or connection or warmth or,
Mhm.
like drive. I couldn't feel any of that. So I made a choice to transition off of meds once I was safe. I used
Mhm.
them until I was safe,
Mhm.
like no longer actively wanting to kill myself. And then I now manage it with diet and lifestyle. And so
Mhm.
what that means is I have to be accountable for my wellness every single day. I don't get a day off. There is no day off from me. So even on
Yeah.
vacation, I gotta tap in with myself. I gotta make sure I'm taking my meds. I gotta, if my anxiety is high, like am I gonna take some CBD or am I gonna like try to get some exercise? Like,
Mhm.
it's a constant thing, managing any illness. There are people that manage illnesses every day.
Yeah.
So like mine is no different.
And I
And
think there's a active participation in your wellness that you've explored and figured out, and understanding the ownership of managing that. Um, that I think kind of goes under the radar for a lot of people. It's like you're either happy and you're doing well, or you're stressed out, or you're mentally ill. And it's like, no, like we're very complex beings, and there can be all those layers happening at once. And managing your wellness can be a full-time job,
ooh,
and
girl.
kind of is out of it. If you practice good habits, or find a way to kind of catch yourself. I think that's what's worked, and my mental health journey is a different story, but for me, what I've found when I find dips in my life, whether they be any type of thing, it's putting up some parameters or putting some things into practice that I can lean back to, like, oh, like, okay, like you said, eating well, or moving your body. Like, those are things, like, if you just even keep a list, like, I'm having a really rough day. Oh, well, I didn't meditate this morning or do the yoga stretch that I usually do when I wake up. And I went into 3 calls, and no wonder, like, you can kind of see those things a little bit.
Girl, like the new thing. So like, all right, one thing I tell people, this is why it's hard for me to give people advice as it pertains to mental health, because I'm not a mental health professional. I am a trained lived experience speaker through the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and I am a peer advocate, like a
Hmm.
peer support advocate or whatever. And so I can't give anybody like actual advice like in mental wellness. All I can tell them is what works for me and what works from my perspective.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do know for a fact is that mental health exists on a spectrum.
Hmm.
So, like, let's say I'm over it. And so the way I explain it, like like on a scale from Donald Trump to Obama, most of us fall somewhere in between in terms of our mental health. You know what I'm saying? Like, very few of us 100% Obama, very few of us are 100% Donald Trump. We are all somewhere in the middle. And so if you're closer to that Donald Trump end of things, motivational speaking might actually cause you more anxiety. It might be overstimulating for you. It might make you feel shame. It might not
Hmm.
resonate with you or connect with you. The idea of trying to meditate might make you feel a sense of failure because you can't clear your mind or calm down enough to do it because you're anxious and overstimulated. You can't do that.
Yeah.
But once you get down to this, closer to the Obama end of the spectrum, now you motivational speaking is something you might be able to align with. It makes sense for you. You're not overstimulated. You can think it and apply it to your life in different ways. And a lot of us feel shame and discomfort because of the fact that we are where we are on that
Hmm.
spectrum, and we don't realize that none of us actually just stay at one point. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes we're a little closer to the Donald Trump. Sometimes we're a little closer to Obama. It's just for people like me who have a mental illness, those extremes happen to move a little
A
bit
much
more
more
often. Yeah, they move a little bit
dramatic
more
pendulum
often.
swing. Hmm.
Yeah, but because I know that when I'm down here, I know that it's my work, my job to get closer to here. And so
Hmm.
one thing that I've been doing is now I'm at a point in my journey where I can start addressing my core wounds.
Hmm. That's some
Girl,
work.
I almost wish I wasn't here. Ooh, girl. Because you gotta be honest about mistakes your parents made, mistakes that were made in your parents' upbringing themselves,
Hmm.
meanings that you applied to things that cause your own suffering, patterns you're repeating that contribute to causing you suffering. Um, it is hard. Oh my God. You just sit there and cry. Like, what the fuck can you do but cry?
You have
And
to be really kind of in your own company in that space too, because other people can't really answer that or unpack that for you. While they can support,
oh,
it's a lot of like, it's a lot of right here work, and that's hard
yeah,
when you're going through it.
yeah. You can only dialogue about this stuff with people who are also doing that inner work.
Hmm.
If people are not also doing that inner work, it's you really can't have that conversation with them because you don't want nobody to be dismissive or enable or
Hmm.
any of that. You I can only talk about this stuff like with Keisha or like my boy Matt. I don't really talk about it with many people because I don't want people to say, "Oh, well, considering what you've been through, you turned out great." Like that's not this conversation. Like I know that information. That is not what this
Yes, thank
conversation
you.
is.
And I can still have these other things I'm working on. And I actively believe that like our our well-being, our bodies, our psyche, our knowledge is something we should constantly be working on and growing. Like we talked about in the Wellness Forward event just during Forward February, the virtual version of our summit, that you know we hire trainers for everything that we do. We hire experts to help us figure out how to do social media marketing. We hire trainers to, pump up our muscles and get us toned up in the gym. Why don't we value training our minds mentally and our emotional well-being and our physical, like as the same as we do our physical?
That is how I actually mentioned that in my TEDx talk
Oh yeah?
about how, well, yeah, I said like, who would Michael Jordan be without Phil Jackson? Like, who would Michael Jordan be without like that person on the outside looking in, teaching them,
Hmm.
telling them how to play the game the best way.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what like therapy is for me. And the thing of it is that I don't like therapy. It don't really resonate with me as a person. Like, it's not something that I enjoy. I hear other people talk about going to therapy and they really, really love it. And it's like this refreshing, rewarding experience for them. But for me, it's very painful because it has me relive a lot of stuff and address a lot of stuff. And it
Hmm.
hurts. But I still go the same way I go to the gym because I like to be able to wear whatever I want. You know
You
what I'm
like the
saying? Like,
results. Yeah. It doesn't
exactly.
necessarily need to
Yeah.
feel good while it's happening, but sometimes things that are good for you are hard, but the results are what you're going for, not the experience.
Exactly. You think I ever want to do a squat, sis? Ever
You
in life? I never in my
just
life.
want to be big boobs, thick thighs, hanging out in the sun.
Exactly. I have never woke up like, ooh, I just want to do some squats today. It's never happened. And that's also how I feel about therapy. I ain't never been like, ooh, I can't wait to talk to my therapist. Every time I talk to her, I got an attitude. But we have like a good relationship now because she don't talk to me clinical. I don't like to be spoken to that way. I don't code switch and I don't want nobody to do that shit with me.
And I think
So
that's really important, is finding someone that you're comfortable with, because it
mhm,
in any aspect of our lives, and this could lead us in a couple different ways of the conversation, but code switching or being performative or kind of, there are times and places for understanding what is needed for certain situations, but your therapy, your job, your day-to-day, like, I think it really depends, because a lot of times I think people lump all of that in together as like, oh well, this is who I am in this situation and this is the person I'm in this situation, and ultimately, like, you need to be true to yourself at the base of it. So if you talk really educated and that's your role, then go for it, but don't feel like the person that you're talking to has to, and maybe it's not educated is the proper word, but if you talk a certain way clinically, as you're saying, about a certain topic, like there's a way to expand that to make sure there's space for everybody to show up as their true selves and really feel comfortable in these
yeah,
situations.
like I really think it's important. That's why like when I did my TEDx talk, I told the organizers, hey, I want y'all to know I'm not code switching. Like
Hmm.
I'm not gonna talk white for this. I'm gonna talk how I talk in life because y'all invited me to this experience, which means, I can show up as myself because you invited me, which means you invited me as myself. So and they were
Yeah.
supportive of it. Like they weren't against it at all. Um, and I think that as more of I had to get to a point in my life where I could be able to do that, right? Like I had to get to a point in my life where I could say, "Hey, I'm gonna do this, and I ain't code switching. Y'all rocking me." And like now that I'm there, it's like if I'm not showing up as my authentic self, then it's almost like I'm saying I'm not good enough. And
Hmm.
I don't need to reinforce any messaging in my brain that
Hmm.
has me that would suggest to me that I'm not good enough. So I did not code switch. And
And I think that's beautiful. Sorry, go ahead.
I think more people need to embrace that as a concept because especially as black people, like there's like we have to do this performative whiteness that like think about the mental health aspect implications of that. And I can
It's a
have, I
marathon.
am as educated as any other lived experience speaker who would have this conversation. I can talk to you about how serotonin and dopamine, acetylcholine, epinephrine, endorphins impact your mental wellness. And, I can have like very granular conversations about neuroplasticity,
Hmm.
conversations that most people in my position would not have just from the experiences that things that I've self-taught myself about mental wellness. I can have all of those conversations, even more so than some people who may have more pedigree than me, specifically
Hmm.
because of the fact that it's a subject that interests me. So
Yeah.
I ain't finna code switch just to have access in this space. Like I
Hmm.
ain't doing that. And I don't want nobody to expect that from me.
And I think the beauty there is understanding. the ability to get to a certain place in your confidence and like knowing who you are, to not feel like you have to show up as someone else for someone to take you seriously. And I think the world is starting to unpack that and be more welcoming to it, because even, I made the mistake. I said, speak in a more educated manner. And that's not what I was meaning to say. It's like in a more typically clinical area or something of that
Yeah, because
nature,
we're socialized to
where
think that way.
I think the beauty of where I'm so excited to see you and other people being able to start showing up more as ourselves, more as yourself, more as the person that you truly are, rather than feeling like you have to show up as someone else to be taken seriously.
Yeah, we ain't on that no more. Like, that ain't what the world look like. And we saw
Mhm.
over, during the pandemic when the George Floyd stuff happened and there were people of multi-ethnic backgrounds, different classes, like whatever, coming together for Black lives.
Mhm.
We have to understand that the otherness that society inflicts upon us is no longer something that people across the board are willing to accept as
Mhm.
acceptable behavior to be done to Black people.
Yeah.
We don't have to take it, and people, like Black people don't have to take it, and the people who love it don't have to take it either.
Right.
So, and I like it just as a mental wellness advocate because it makes me think that maybe some of the social aspects of institutionalized racism that have us constantly on edge and impact us mentally all the time, maybe in the next couple of generations, it will be better.
Mhm. We'll start to see that unpacked and kind of removed from that generational trauma that passes between people. Because I
Yeah.
think that's some of the stuff that you alluded to before too, is like your family and unpacking some of the wounds that came from before.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Well, I'm glad to learn from you about some of the ways that you've started to, or you continue to show up for yourself in these different situations that become opportunities for you. Because as your platform grows with this play and with others, it'll be really cool for people to see you showing up as your full self and find that opportunity to really, that what they always say, if you can see it, you can be it. And the more voices that are highlighted that aren't your typical white male or your typical white voice, as we're used to hearing in some of these spaces, the more we'll see that educated voice describes all different types of voices. It's just a matter of you being able to actually get your point across and articulate what you're talking about in a meaningful way so that people can understand. And I think that's something that your music does such a really cool job of, and what you've done with Get Out Alive, of painting this picture with words and now this visual engagement where we're talking about things from very serious clinical issues all the way down to, what it was like to run away from home and be living on the streets, and trying to stay away from home and stay running away, and then finding your way back to who you are and understanding the kind of drama of abusive relationships, and then how you continue to have that with yourself because of the way that it unpacked and how we repeat patterns.
You know what I recently learned that so like when you get into unpacking the inner workings of the mind, when you delve into the inner world, honey, it is a it is a galaxy in there. Like it is so much to discover in your entire lifetime. You can never completely 100% fully understand yourself. And so I recently had the revelation, right? And I don't know why I never thought of this before. So when you have a baby, that baby come into the world with this squeaky clean little brain. And I guess I always thought like, okay, well, there's inherent genetic programming that has the brain evolve and socialize and learn language. Like it's all of these things that are automatic. So as long as a child is well raised, and loved, then certain core traits and benefits would just fill in based upon this child's personality. That is a lie. That is not true. The human brain is a meaning making machine. And while there is some genetic programming that is inherent to all minds, the experience of the outer world shapes the inner world. And one thing about abuse is that when a child is abused, the child doesn't stop loving the caregiver, they stop loving themselves. And so there are all these little points in which many of us experience trauma or abuse. It impacted our ability to love ourselves. And then it printed on how we show up in the world, on how we attach, on the meanings that we make for things that happen. And then that turns around and shapes our personality as adults. So, like for me, in my childhood, one big thing for me was that nobody thinks about me. I'm not important. And that was like a big part of my childhood because of the fact that my parents were going through some shit. And so being nurturing with me was not necessarily something my mom had time for or even a mental aptitude to do
Yeah,
because she was
the
focused on our
availability to do
survival.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she was focused on our survival. It doesn't make her bad. It doesn't make her good. It's just a fact. And so a core thing for me was I'm not important. Nobody's thinking about me right now. So then I grow up and become this person that commands people to pay attention to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, I love my life and I love that I've become this person. But goddamn, like the place it came from. Like, so are any aspects of our experience, are any of them just who we are? Are they all informed by trauma? I mean, because obviously not only trauma is a thing that shapes us, the beautiful experiences shape us too.
Mm-hmm.
But I can absolutely point to moments. I remember where I was sitting in school. I remember what my hair looked like that day. The day I looked at other people and was like, I bet somebody's thinking about her right now. In school. I remember this clearly.
Yeah.
To the point where I grew up and now I'm Lynette the threat and you don't get to not pay attention to me, baby. You know what I'm saying? And like it's beautiful and it's dope that I took something like that and made it something beautiful that works for me, but it was still informed by a trauma and a core wound that I need to heal. And healing that is my job. It's not my mom's job. It's not anybody outside of me. I can blame, I can point fingers, but that ain't gonna fix nothing. It's not
At the
my
end of the
fault, but
day,
it is my responsibility.
yeah, it's only you that gets to fix it because you're the only one that's truly impacted by it for the rest of your life. Everybody else is going to live their own lives, but you either get to change it or live with it. So you brought up Lynette the threat, and it's so funny. One of the questions I wrote down when I was prepping and thinking of different things we can talk about is, and knowing you socially, a little bit personally as friends, especially through our connection with Keisha, and having you show up for Forward as you have, show up for your friends, stand up for people. You are this beautiful enigma of a constant balance of like supportive, kind, welcoming, and then badass, fierce, Lynette the threat, kind of these like dual like personalities almost that like really meld into this beautiful existence that I get to see, that the followers on social media and all that get to see. What is it like kind of balancing that, and what is the engagement in between like the sides of you that really do get to be this loving, emotional, caring mental health advocate, and this badass female rap star that's up on stage talking about pandemic this, I haven't had any, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna have some sex, I'm gonna do whatever, I'm gonna I'm a badass. People love me. Like, I love it. And I think it's so beautiful. And I want to hear a little bit about what that's like being you and being that.
I kind of think like when it comes to mental health advocacy, so part of the reason I even became an advocate was because I didn't really, well, actually the real reason I did it was because when I was in the psych hospital, like I talked to other people there and they didn't feel like they had representation in the world. They represented like their background, where they came from, and like
Yeah.
messaging that they connected with. They did not feel represented. So I told them that I would use my platform to do it. And so if we gonna talk about all this super heavy mental health stuff, if we gonna dig in there, it's like, why are we doing it? We're doing it so we can enjoy our humanity, right? We're doing it so that we can live a life that we love, a life that we want to live for, a life that we want to wake up for every day. And so I share both. Like I share the good part of being a person that's unapologetic and brazen and confident and willing to lose anything that does not serve me. And don't nobody get to tell me what to do because I get to be myself and still have amazing experiences. So nah, 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 nah. You know what I'm saying? Like, but then also I talk about the struggle of it and how hard it can be. Like right now, I'm on like a social media break kind of. I post art, but that's about it. Like I'm taking a second because I gotta get in here with me and do some inner work before I can be external. And that's part of it too. Like I'm not always okay. I'm better than I used to be though. I'm not, getting to the point where I'm suicidal and nothing crazy like that no more. But I'm honest about the journey and what it takes. Because like you said, if people can see it, they can be it. And I consider myself to be a possibility model. So if I'm honest about what it takes and honest about what it looks like, then other people can look at me and be like, oh, okay, this is normal. Or, oh, okay, like this isn't. And people do like that. People do. And that's how I know how I'm showing up because other people tell me. And like, I'm not no role model or nothing. Like, I don't need people to be like me. That's not what I'm here for. I am a, a possibility of, hey, hi, I openly have a mental illness and I have a good life. That means that if you're not okay, nothing's bad about you. Okay, bye. Like, and sometimes people need that. I wish I had it when I was first going through recovery. I wish I had it. I am the first mental wellness advocate like me that I've ever seen. If you go back to when I first started doing mental wellness content for Afropunk in like 2016, there was no other people who look like me from my cultural standpoint who were doing mental wellness content on like major platforms. Wasn't no me. So I helped open up an environment for people to do this type of stuff. A lot of people is my sons, and I'm a proud mama. So I'm not apologetic about it either. I will openly talk about it because this is the dopest shit I ever did. I see a cultural shift that I assisted in. Fuck yeah, I'm proud.
Fuck
As
yeah, I'm
hell.
proud.
Yeah,
I'm excited
you know
to
what I'm
see it,
saying?
be a part of it, benefit from it, be around it. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I've even had like people rip off my work and monetize it. Uh like, and that's real because I came at their neck. I am not nice at all. Um, but to see over the past couple years now, there being so many people from so many different walks of life talking about mental health. And people ask me a lot, like, do you get mad? There's so many people talk about it now, like it's a trendy thing. And not really, no, because representation is super important. So we need people having surface level conversations with it because some people, like, that's just going to introduce them to the subject of it. And then we need people who overshare because some people can look at that and be like, oh, I'm not so bad because at least I don't have those things. Maybe it will be easier to feel better. You know what I'm saying? And then you need people that are somewhere in the middle, which is I think where I am. And where people can be like, okay, like I can have this be part of my life and part of my wellness routine, check in with this content, and it really helps me. So I think all of it helps because like we have that range when it comes to fitness. That range exists when it comes to fitness. We got people that just, ooh, here go my cute gym selfie. And it's like, ooh, cute motivation. Or people that show their whole entire routine and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Or have
oh,
made
okay, I can
millions of
take.
dollars selling guides or have, posted a couple pictures of their just sweaty self at the gym. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we got all of that stuff when it comes to physical wellness. Like, why don't we get that range when it comes to mental wellness? What's wrong with it? Let's do it. Fuck it. Like it ain't gonna hurt nothing. It's gonna help. As
Yeah,
long
we all
it's
go
just
up together. The more people involved in paying attention, the more people benefit. As long as we're making sure that we're doing it from a place that's positive and actually caring about people, and not
yeah.
trying to just you know jump on a bandwagon. I love that.
And
I
as
think
long
that's
as
super important.
the bandwagon thing is kind of stupid, but as long as we are at the end of the day understanding that ain't none of us mental health professionals and we really should be telling people to go to therapy,
Yes.
then we're good. Like
Go
as
see the
long as it
professional.
ends
These are just my thoughts.
exactly, as long as it ends with and you need to go to therapy, then I'm all for it. Because like one thing that I know for a fact is that so like initially, like the first time I had meds prescribed to me, it was from my primary doctor. She
Mhm.
shouldn't have done that because I did not have the language to articulate that I had depression and anxiety. She thought
Mhm.
I just had depression. And so she prescribed me meds. I think it was Effexor. And that was what I was taking when I tried to kill myself.
Because it
And
wasn't treating the whole spectrum.
yeah,
It was treating
it
one
was
piece that ended up
stimulating me.
triggering the other.
It was stimulating me, and I already had anxiety.
Hmm.
So it just wasn't right for me at all. And so you need to see a mental health professional specifically to figure out what is the thing that's going on with you. Okay, well, here are the options for how we can make that better. You can do this and you can do that and you can do that. Or you can do a combination of these things. Which one are you more interested in? Like, if you break your ankle, you ain't going to the dentist. You know what I'm saying? So like it don't make no sense to not get therapy. Like if something's up here and you're not okay up here,
Yeah.
like if you know what I'm saying, like you'd be willing to wear a crutch if you broke your ankle, but you're not gonna go to therapy and get this assist. Like that don't make no sense. It just logically, rationally, it don't make no sense. Oh, well, I don't have time for therapy. But your ass got time to be on social media all day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like your ass got time to watch shows on Netflix. Like it take an hour to tap in with a therapist on the phone. Like now we ain't even got physically go
No, now you
to
can text
therapy.
a therapist, right? They have all this different stuff. And I think building on that, I I had an interesting journey when I first started to go to therapy and realizing that it's okay to switch therapists and it's okay to shop for therapists and find one that fits.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's okay to like test a med for a little while and realize if it's not working, just make sure you know that you're being monitored by someone. So if you do go off the deep end, because I've had meds in my past, like I'm not going to go down the train too far, but I had a bad experience with a birth control that got pulled off the market for all these things. And I had like out of body
oof,
experiences because I didn't know what was going on. And thankfully I had people around that were like, hey, maybe we should stop taking this. Hey, maybe like, you don't know. I'm like 16 years old and wondering why I hate the world so much or what's going on this
right.
way. Some of it's just life, but other pieces can be medication, and it's okay. You have to shop, but you have to make that investment of time. And like, I think a lot of people try therapy and then run away from it. It's like, oh, I tried, it didn't work for me. I'm like,
Yeah, I
there's
mean
a lot
because
of
like
nuances.
first time you meet, it's like that's like going on one date, being like, I hate dating, and then never dating again, which is currently my situation. I hate dating, and so I don't do it. But I know that that's not like at some point I'm gonna have to get over myself. But like that's kind of how it is in therapy. Like, oh, you gonna meet this perfect stranger you never met before, you don't got chemistry with them, and now you're just like, well, I quit.
Well, I
Again,
hate
that's just
all of
it's
the
not
others.
it's not logical. That therapist does not represent the views and opinions of all therapists that exist. Like I didn't think I was gonna like my therapist at first. Like she's biracial and she's white passing, like she could pass for white. And so I'm like, what is you gonna tell me about my lived experience as a black woman? But she's
Hmm.
also, queer.
Hmm.
So there's a lot that she understands. Like I'm not queer, but that otherness is a lot that she lives with and has to navigate in her life. The the unsafety, you know what I'm saying? Like the lack
Yeah.
of safety that she has had to navigate in her life has her very much able to connect with and resonate with what I'm going through. I don't know if she wasn't queer, with her not being like you look at her and notice she's black, because I specifically wanted a black therapist.
Hmm.
And so when I went to her, I kind of had an attitude. So I'm like, no offense or nothing, but like I need you to understand the ways that I am impacted by institutional racism. Not that
Yeah.
she doesn't, she actually does. But a lot of times when
But
I
it
meet
just
people
didn't
who are,
feel like there were those parallels in
yeah,
your
I just
visual engagement at the beginning, especially. But you like
like
you can unpack that and get to know her a little.
yeah, like I need to know that you are oppressed, sis. Do you understand oppression? Because sometimes people who have, like, I have friends who are white passing, and there are just certain levels of the oppression of black people they do not understand. And they
Hmm.
acknowledge that they don't understand. They're not like trying to
Yeah,
act like
I'm
they do.
white. I
You know
don't
what
know
I'm
what it's like
saying?
to be a black person.
Exactly.
I can sympathize. I have friends. I get to learn the experience. I ask the questions, but I will never know what it's like to walk in your shoes.
Yeah. And so she understands. And so like we have very real conversations, even though like she knows that I don't like therapy. She knows that I'm a mental wellness advocate for people to go to therapy. But my hypocritical ass do not like therapy. But I like that I want to be alive. I like mindfulness. I like having a person who knows their stuff be able to tell me when something I'm thinking about is the best way for me to be thinking about it, or when I should look at it another way. I like that she gets to know how I think and can help me walk
Hmm.
through processes of better ways of reframing things. I like reframing. I like, you know what I'm saying? Like these are things she introduced to my life. So the same way I like when my little shape, you know, in my jeans when I go to the gym, I like the shape of my world when I'm in therapy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that analogy. I think that's awesome. I gotta think on that for a minute. I'm holding on to that one for a second. I like the shape that my mind is in, and that's what I'm working towards. Yeah, that's cool. So we've been chatting for a bit. I'm so grateful for you making the time to have this conversation. I want to kind of end with a few fast paced, like quick favorite type of things. What would be like a favorite quote or mantra that you like to say to yourself? And it doesn't have to be motivational, it doesn't have to be anything specific, just like something that resonates with you.
Done is better than perfect.
Ooh, that is good. That is good. Any tools that you use that you couldn't live without, like an app on your phone or a journal or a head wrap or like anything that you're like, this is a thing that I freaking love.
Oh, I gotta answer fast. YouTube, because I can
Okay.
always look up mindfulness, Nietzsche, Abraham Hicks, uh, you know, the Daily Stoic.
Marine
Yeah,
biology.
like things that like I
Like
tap
anything
in
and
with mental
everything.
health content on YouTube every single day. Can't live without it. I think everybody should.
That's awesome. Book or a podcast that you absolutely like enjoyed. Maybe the book you're reading now or something that you'd like to like go back to or a podcast that you regularly listen to if you're not a book
The
person.
Body Keeps the Score, and it is about
Okay.
how trauma gets the how the body relates to trauma.
Advice for those seeking mental health support resources recommendation. Is there a specific place that you would say like check this out, check out this website to just like get
Call
started?
NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. That's who I called when I was first starting my journey. And now I'm an ambassador for them. And I'm about to win the award for Ambassador of the Year. And I'm performing at the gala in April. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's amazing. Congratulations. I'm excited.
Thank
Putting
you.
all those good vibes out. What's next for you, Nikki? You've just released this musical film production. You have, you know, records out. You have all of this art that you're working on. What is the next thing in your journey?
It's interesting. I feel like everybody's kind of waiting for me to answer that. So like nobody talks about the psychological impact of a comeback. And
Hmm.
not only did I come back, I got more now than I had before my mental break. I did not plan on it. I didn't know that I would live long enough to have this type of experience. Every year I'm still alive is a surprise, like a shock, like wow. Like not that I still want to kill myself, but like I didn't see this coming.
But you're just proud of those things. It's an exciting, it's like another like yes moment rather than a, oh, yeah, like I just didn't expect it. It wasn't guaranteed.
So it's looking like I'm pivoting pretty heavily into film.
Hmm.
I'm still, you know, I want to put Get Out Alive through the film festivals. Hopefully the world opens up. I'm able to perform it again soon. And I'm working on some other film projects I can't really talk about right now. I'm working on a couple campaigns. I'm officially the host for a podcast called About a Girl. It's a
Uh-huh.
popular podcast. Like, you know, like there are Rolling Stone articles about this podcast, and I'm hosting it. I'm about to actually do the recording of the first one right now.
Amazing.
It's some amazing things going on. So I'm starting to get paid to do stuff that I've been doing for free about mental wellness for so long. And it's
I
like
think
dope to
that's,
get
whew, yeah, go for
it's
it.
dope to
That's
get paid to talk about stuff you love. And nobody gonna tell me how to talk about it. Like nobody gets to do that. And nobody tries. Like it's dope to get paid to make a living talking about things you're passionate about. Like this is it. Like this is I want to do this forever. I love this. I love this. I love
we're
it.
gonna have to do a follow-up episode about the getting paid part, negotiating contracts and engaging in the financial conversations around your your creative works because I
Oh,
think that's
honey.
such an emotional toll. I feel like we probably talk for an hour.
All I'm gonna say is don't be afraid to bring up the fact that we are existing in a time where we have to include ethics and sustainability into all business arrangements. Because I have the ethics and sustainability conversation in all of my business dealings. I absolutely do.
I think that's incredible. I think that's powerful and something that we can all think about, as especially for the up and comers listening to this, or the entrepreneurs, or the people that are first starting into social impact driven business. And there goes
Yeah.
the cat. Anything else
Thank you
you
so
want to
much.
share? Yeah.
Please go to iGetOutAlive.com, iGetOutAlive.com, and get your tickets and see my play. It is dope.
I recommend it. 5 stars from me. Thank you, Nikki, for everything. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. Oh, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you.
See you soon, baby.